All right, it is Thursday. This is for NFL Week 8. Gonna do like a early look, kind of quick overview, and then I'll do my final tweaks and final builds on Saturday. Still waiting on some injury news, like Jalen Waddle, some arrest news on Chris Olave. But here are the projections so far. I think I'm just going to be playing the double spy. So I will try to talk a little bit about like smaller field ownership, where I think it's going to be condensing. Looks like they may have, let me refresh these. I was going to say they may have taken ownership down for a little bit. They're possibly updating them right now. So kind of go position by position, go over who I like. And then I have a spreadsheet that I'll be adding like my player pool to. So let's start out at QB. Like this is another injury news because it seems like there's at least a 10% chance, I mean, that's still really low, but chance of Brock Purdy coming back. But right now we have 4,300 Sam Darnold against the Bengals. I'm typically not the best at knowing like when and how to play these spots. And I'm initially, my gut doesn't think that this is like the biggest spot on the slate to figure out. There's been a couple of slates in the past where there's been like a stone man, Sam Ellinger, who not only was the cash game lock, he was like the GPP punt. You could play him naked because he has rushing upside. I know Whistles Goes Woo does a lot of locking these cheap quarterbacks sometimes, but I need to think about it because there's no buys, which actually means it's going to be. It's weird because I would say in a shorter game slate, some of the better QBs could like really separate. And maybe you don't need the points per dollar optimal. You just need like the raw points. But with a lot more games on the slate, I'm trying to think about how Sam Darnold then compares to the overall quarterback pool. But as you can see here, he is the like smash value. I'm kind of blocked in on Jalen Hurts right now. That's another injury thing too. Need to see if his knee is okay. Thorman has the Chiefs Broncos as a pace down spot. So gonna avoid Russell Wilson. I think Kenny Pickett's just trash, and I think they just don't actually throw that much. And I think this game's also going to be sloggy. Burrow's definitely interesting off of a bye, off of a kind of weak secondary in San Francisco. They may get the ball a lot if Darnold is just going 3 and out a bunch. No other QB is rating out well. I wish they had the points per dollar column here because the value is a little bit different. But I think if you're going to do points per dollar, the QB is like one of the most important positions. But it's also slate dependent. Like I was saying earlier, like if there's multiple games, if there's only 10 games on the slate, maybe it's not about points per dollar. It's more about raw points. So does anyone else down here stand out? Because Mahomes is so expensive, they have him way down here. I thought Lamar was interesting at 8,100. I'm surprised to see Jalen Hurts rating out a point or two more, especially if Jalen Hurts. I guess it just reflects how bad Washington is on defense. I was talking to some buddies today. If I don't play Jalen Hurts at quarterback, I think I'm still going to play 2 Eagles, probably like Swift and AJ Brown, but 2 Eagles regardless. And would even consider Swift with Hurts as negatively correlated as that sounds. I think it's okay in a small field and just do like an onslaught here. I thought Shroud was interesting. 6,300 just a little bit too much. It's weird how much more expensive like Hurts, Lamar, and Mahomes are from everyone else. I'm trying to see if anything else in out. Trevor Lawrence kind of did, Waiting on Zay Jones injury news. Gardner Minshew also is interesting against the Saints. Just because he's 5,400. We saw him rush twice for touchdowns last week. That's obviously an outlier. But yeah, it's looking like Darnold's going to be the cash game quarterback. So we'll see how to handle that. Let's go to running back. So right now I'm kind of considering, I guess before I go to running back, I'm considering Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Trevor Lawrence. If I could make it to 4, and I'd say my 5th would be Gardner Minshew. This game's rating up in pace. Colts versus Saints. I'm gonna double check that. I like to kind of play game stacks from the up in pace Thorman rankings. So let me check Thorman's rankings real quick here. This is bad streaming. Okay, so I'll hop over to this article. We have, Saints at Colts, up in pace. Rams at Cowboys, up in pace. Texans at Panthers. That's at Texans. Another interesting injury news. We're waiting on Robert Woods. They get Tank Dell back off injury. Panthers may not have Miles Sanders again. Okay, so only 3 games. Saints at Colts, Rams at Cowboys, Texans at Panthers. Then we have slogs. Was kind of considering Waddle if Hill's out, but Hill's in, and I think too pricey. Don't think I'm ever going to play Patriot for the most part for the rest of the season. Mostert's also back at practice, but that's kind of interesting to monitor. I guess Ramondre at a cheap price tag is interesting. Bijan got his price nuked. A lot of narrative talk around Derrick Henry just getting 35 carries because Will Levis is going to play. I think that's kind of wish casting slightly. And then, here are the Chiefs, who have a very good defense against the Broncos. Slight positive correlation with Pacheco and KC defense. Okay. So hopping back into RB here. Yeah, Brees may be my favorite. Really like Pollard. Kind of hard to poke holes in both of those top 2. Honestly, I'm thinking about it. Yes, the Jets are the Jets, but they're playing the Giants. They're off a bye. Pollard seems to have been running bad, but also they're just not as good. I don't think LA is particularly strong on defense. It does rake up in pace, which is good. I was high on Kamara early this week, but every Saints game that I've watched, this is like a bro ball brain player take. Saints just seem awful. Kamara doesn't even seem good. Carr seems awful. Like there was like multiple weeks in a row where they literally didn't score a touchdown. They had like 12 points, 4 field goals, 9 points, 3 field goals, where they scored 1 touchdown in like 2 or 3 weeks. Sorry, I'm watching the Bucks just intercept Josh Allen on my phone. So I don't know. I'm only playing 1 lineup, and it's just enough of a bad taste in my mouth to just fade. CMC is also interesting. We may see a lot of like Darnold CMC stack, Darnold CMC Ayuk stack. I don't know. Right now they have ownership low. I can see this coming up on CMC. I play Pacheco every week, so I'll try to overcome some of my biases to find some holes to poke in here. Bijan, I think what you could say is the game's sloggy. They're not going to be pushed. It's going to be like, I mean, this may sound crazy to try to predict this too much, but like it may be like, like a 17-20 game, or even lower, like, I don't know, like a 14-13 game. And now Cordarrelle's playing and Algiers playing. I don't know. I like it though. I suspect this actually comes up. I think Bijan's going to get steamed. I think Etienne's fine. Jonathan Taylor, you definitely want to be early, and it looks like Zach Moss was back at practice today, but that's another injury situation. I don't know. I think Zach Moss is good, and I don't know at that price yet. Like I don't know. This is Jonathan Taylor's hard to poke holes in as well. Swift's probably my favorite player. Like as the week has progressed, he wasn't really in my player pool early, but I just think you want to load up against the Commanders. I watched the whole game, not even red zone, the first time they played this year, and Eagles played awful and still put up 34 points. Kenneth Walker is back-to-back DMPs. We may see a chalk Charbonnet at Stoneman if that somehow changes. And then Kareem Hunt apparently is also hurt. I have to monitor his situation. Here's our boy Ramondre. I don't know. So right now I have 4 players in mind. And I don't think that's going to expand, maybe with injuries. But right now my pool is looking like Brees and Pollard, Pacheco, and Swift. Those are my favorites. Need to kind of dive into what that means for the slate holistically, but I can do that on Saturday. So let's jump into receiver. Yeah, so slate is really thin, really thin at receiver. Pricing super tough. Tyreek's definitely matchup proof. But New England tends to just play these like sloggy games. There's just not as many plays run. He's definitely better if Waddle's out. But then also guys like Berrios are better. I don't know. This price tag is just going to be hard to get to because the pricing on the whole slate's tough, other than the Sam Darnold at quarterback play. I like Chase off a bye against San Francisco. Definitely my favorite play in the slate's AJ Brown. This number is just really low. I think this is like wrong. Hopefully it's not wrong though, because this is just incredible. This actually, if this is actually low, then you don't even really have to play him with Hurts. You can just play him as a one-off and hope to kind of get all of the points through him. But if I suspect that this comes up, then like playing him through Hurts could be like a pretty unique. That sounds like it wouldn't be unique, but depending on Hurts' ownership. Let's see here. Who can I poke holes in? I like Zay, but I just think he's okay. We saw Bateman. We saw a bunch of tweets and like receiver analysis on Bateman's like finally getting healthier and like separating and running more routes and playing better. I just don't think Zay's that good, but I've been wrong this whole season. So Tank Dell, I like him if Woods is out. I also like Nico Collins if Woods is out. Thielen, I'm just going to never play Thielen. So yeah, basically never playing any Steelers. They're like the Patriots to me. Kirk is interesting if Zay Jones is out. I think Ridley is also interesting. He is cheaper than Kirk. We're going to scroll down here. Never playing Kendrick Bourne. Addison's interesting. Also need to check on his health. And I think Josh Downs and they pace up spot, especially paired with Minshew, is kind of interesting here. I think Ayuk's too expensive, especially if he's going to be playing with Darnold, waiting on Olave's arrest situation. I think an Olave Pittman or an Olave Downs mini is going to be apparently way more under-owned than, like, look at these. These may both come in at like sub 5, maybe both for sure sub 10 in the double spy. That's a great mini in a pace up spot in a dome. Cup's just so pricey still. And Puka is really good. I think Garrett Wilson's interesting and Drake London's interesting. So if you look at the value, like they're not terrible, but only a couple that are positive. I like to go all the way down to like 2. Yeah, so 2 is where they start doing the orange coding. I think Rashid Rice is interesting. I'd rather play Pacheco in that game, just the environment. I think the spread's like, it's like 8. They may win by like 20. Yeah, Waddle's just pricey. How is our boy Devonta Smith? Is he in here? 6,700. He's got to be somewhere. Did I pass him? Is he really all the way down here? Oh no. Oh no, Devonta Smith. 0.5%. Giant negative value. Oh man. I need to think about this come Saturday. Okay. It's too early right now. My receiver pool is going to depend a lot on my quarterback pool. There's just too many injuries right now. My favorite play is AJ Brown, so he's probably going to be locked. And then I guess Chase is my second favorite play, but these are both expensive, so stay tuned on that. Tight end, I used to be kind of like 100% play the tight end with your quarterback. Before that, I was 100% punt tight end. Now I'm kind of a hybrid. Sometimes I don't even play the tight end correlated or with the QB. I think if I want to pay down and try to get some studs in the lineup, I think Trey McBride's fine, even at this ownership. If he was more expensive, I would say gross, but 2,800 is going to unlock a lot. I think tight end chalk's only really bad if it's like mid to high tier, just with the volatility at the position. And also Trey McBride actually is just like, I think a pretty good play in general. Like if you didn't have salaries, like I think he'd actually rank up toward the top as far as like projected points here. Ingram would be interesting to pair with Lawrence. It's interesting that Goddard's only $100 more. Because I'm thinking if I play Hurts, it would be so weird to play Hurts with Ingram when I could just play him with Goddard for the correlation, which would make sense with my contest size. But Ingram is just like has like the most targets, catches, everything like without a touchdown. And I think he has some positive regression coming. Hawkinson's hurt. This is some news. Kelsey's not going to have Taylor Swift, and it's just so expensive. There's a lot of good, like, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but some good metrics on Ferguson and Schultz as far as like end zone targets, stuff like that go. I think Logan Thomas in a bring back is okay. Okay, last thing before we hop out of here is DST. And this is how I do my DST. I basically look for three things, either all of them or some of them, but I think the three factors that I mostly consider. Obviously, if there's like a chalk, like 25%, I would say, that's pretty chalky. Yeah. If there's a 25% owned defense, because especially in small field too, to get that much leverage, I think is worth fading. So I basically almost never play the 25% plus defense. Maybe if it's like Stone Men, but no. So what I look for is cheap, like I just said. Sorry, I didn't say that. Yeah, so I like to lean cheap. So under 3K usually. Am I playing a bad QB or a rookie QB? And then the other thing I look for is the O-line, D-line mismatch. I'm going to go in this tab here from Thorn. So usually he has this little graphic because sometimes, yeah, I'm going to reload the page. So what ends up happening is he will list out O-lines and D-line rankings. And this is really correlated with, obviously, because it's like inferring that these teams are going to get more sacks and pressures and turnovers. But so he doesn't have the graphic up right now, but right now it's showing the biggest mismatches as Eagles, which is kind of interesting. Basically, Howell's just giving up sacks every week. So Jets here as a candidate. Let's see what the Jets price is. The Jets are priced, oh my gosh, they're 4,000. The Browns against the Seahawks. Ooh, Browns are 3,000. So right now the chalk is the Falcons against the new quarterback Levis. And I think they're just going to run a lot. They're kind of, it's weird. I definitely overplay defenses against bad quarterbacks. But if it's one of those instances like the Falcons or the Titans where they just are going to be like, they're going to be 60, 70% run. I mean, literally 70%, maybe 80% run. 80% is absurd. Sure, they may like not allow that many points, but you generate more DST points off pick sixes, turnovers. There goes Dalton Kincaid prancing into the end zone. Okay, the Cowboys against the Rams. Let's see here. Cowboys are 3,600. That's probably the high end of what I'm willing to pay. Like, I'm not going to pay 4,000 for the Jets. I would pay 3,600 for the Cowboys. I think Micah Parsons can just eat Matthew Stafford. And then Chiefs against Broncos, but no, Chiefs. So a lot of the pricing algorithm has to do with the spread. And so, yeah, I'm not getting the best one there. And then I'll also look over here for some O-line, D-line mismatches. Like Chiefs are second O-line against the Broncos D-line. This is a good spot for Pacheco. Waiting on some injury news here for the Browns. These guys aren't on the main slate. But if we scroll up, I want to say the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles are the number one O-line. And they're playing the Commanders. I guess the Commanders have a good D-line. Yeah, they're 8, but that's still, you know, a +7 delta. You know, not as big as these deltas, but still pretty nice. The other two running backs that I like, Breece Hall and Tony Pollard. I mean, look at these. Cowboys are 3rd, possibly getting some guy back. And then the Jets. Jets are 22nd. Looks like they lost a guard. But the Cowboys are facing the Rams, who are like middle of the pack, I want to say. Where are the Rams? Anyway, that's it for the week. I haven't really narrowed down my DST off that alone. Waiting on some injury stuff. Thanks for watching.